speaker mode. Okay. So first and foremost, I would like to thank all the mothers who are here today because again, as mothers, it's very difficult to find the time to attend a meeting. And luckily, because it's all online nowadays, I think it's great because we can sit at home with a bun, oiled up hair, very shabby, but we can attend sessions and we're not going to miss out on anything, right? So that's a great thing. And I also must thank you for joining Tribe because நீங்கெல்லாம் இல்லாம வந்து there's no tribe. Okay, only Harita or me or Shweta, we cannot sit and make a tribe. So when you people are joining and you people are a part of it, I think it makes the group a very active group. And a lot of times we also notice that we don't have to answer. The experienced mothers give answers before we do. It saves us a lot of time. And I think that's something that's very great. So thank you everyone for being a part of the group. Okay. So today, how we're going to take forward this meeting is the three of us will be taking one particular topic and we will answer the most frequently asked questions that we've seen on the group. Okay, so Harita will take over breastfeeding. Are there any pregnant mothers on the group today? Because if there are pregnant mothers, Shweta will take forward pregnancy. If not, we will be dealing with postpartum exercises and how to recover postpartum. And I will be dealing with your baby side. You know, what does your baby know? How important it is for you to interact with your baby. And then we will open the floor for questions and answers. It'll be open and you can ask any of your questions and each of us will be answering. Okay, so I hope that's okay with all of you. And if there are pregnant mothers, okay, so Krishna is pregnant. Right. Okay. So Shweta, you can just touch up a little on pregnancy for Krishna's sake, and then we can talk, you can talk about the postpartum. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think first we will open up to Shweta because she will deal with the pregnancy and come to postpartum, and then Harita can do the breastfeeding, and then I will come to my topic. Okay. So Shweta, please take over.
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Shweta. I'm a certified child professional. So to begin with, let me begin with the basics of pregnancy. How many weeks the pregnancy is, how is it categorized into 3 trimesters. So just to begin with, let me start off with what are the 3 trimesters in the pregnancy. Okay, we have 3 trimesters. Week 1 will have about 1 to 12 weeks. Second trimester will be from the week 13th to 26th week. And third trimester will be from 27th to the end of the pregnancy, which may be from 40th week to 42nd week. So when do we tell it is a full-term pregnancy? So from the 37th week, it is usually considered to be a full-term pregnancy up to 40th or 42nd, however long a mother could wait for it or however long the baby could wait for it. So any time prior to the 37th week would be the preterm babies. Okay, so let me just come up with the common questions frequently asked from the group. You know, the common, what are the concerns? I mean, like, what do you usually expect the signs and symptoms during the first, second, and third trimesters? Okay, so the first trimester is only the development of the baby or the conception of the baby. So we wouldn't, any mother who is belonging to the first trimester wouldn't put a lot of weight or anything as such because the baby is just getting concepted. Okay, so the normal phase or the normal mothers usually feel a lot of fatigue during the first trimester. That is because of the increase in the progesterone level. It is usually the first trimester is all about hormones, the changes in the hormones and all the symptoms which occurs due to the changes in the hormones. So anyone who has any specific questions, related to the pregnancy, please drop in the chat box. So once I'm done with the flow, I would be glad to answer them as well. Okay, so to continue with, what are the signs and symptoms during your first pregnancy? Let me carry on with it. So you will also have tender breasts. Your breast will start becoming sore and tender. That is usually because of the hormonal changes, which is temporary. Because from the pre-pregnancy to the pregnancy, there will be a drastic difference between the hormone levels, and only because of that you feel all these symptoms. Next comes the major point, nausea. It is also due to the hormone level. It is usually termed as the morning sickness. So it doesn't mean that you have the nausea only during the morning. It will carry on for the entire period. It can be any part of the day. And it keeps repeating. So what you can do is eat very slowly, eat in a small proportion. And the highlight is no empty stomach. You should not maintain, just because you're feeling nausea doesn't mean that you should not eat anything. Because even when you have an empty stomach, you'll have the nauseating feeling. So drink a lot of fluids. Once you wake up, start off with a cracker or a few nuts or a banana within just half an hour of your waking up time, so that it will ease down the entire day's well-being. Okay, and you will also have an increased sensation of urination. That is also because during the first trimester you will have a rise or a hike in your blood level, so it is because of that. And fatigue is the usual problem. As I said, it's because of the increase in the hormone called progesterone. You get to sleep a lot, or you feel very sleepy and tired all the time, which is very normal. Please do take rest in the first trimester. And you can elevate the symptoms by going for a walk or 10 minutes or 20 minutes walk, which would help us with it. And food cravings and aversions, both are normal. You might as well have a lot of cravings towards one food, a lot of aversion towards one food. So it is also due to the hormonal changes. Please go with the flow, eat whatever is possible. And you eat only the nutritious or healthy part of it. Just because you don't like to have any vegetables doesn't mean that you shouldn't have it at all. Choose some vegetables which is possible to have, or high foods which is high in fiber, and so on. Next common symptoms would be the heartburn. Heartburn. That is also because when the stomach is empty or too much of eating. I just wanted to highlight during this point is that during pregnancy, you can't eat 3 square meals. It has to be broken up into 5 to 6 times, very small portion, so that you don't have a heartburn, you don't have a nausea as well. Okay, this is how you deal with heartburns. Constipation. Constipation, one is due to the rise in the progesterone level hormones, and the next would also be because of the iron tablet consumption, which is very much required and which is a compulsion to be taken. So what you can do is you can have a lot of fiber-rich foods, fruits and vegetables, and also you can increase your physical activity. Physical activity doesn't mean that you have to go for a jog or a run. It just means that you have to be physically active throughout the day. All right. And first trimester is also said to be emotionally, you are very, you might either be very happy or you might be very delighted, anxious, and exhausted. So please understand it is all because of the hormones, and it is only a temporary period of time. Okay, so this is other common symptoms during the first trimester. Let me come to the second trimester. Second trimester is usually supposed to be a very enjoyable phase because you no longer will be fatigued. Your body will be get accustomed to all your hormonal changes. And this is the phase that you have a physical change over in your body. That is like your belly starts growing, your breast starts growing. So this is the normal phase when you're really excited or when you're up to do anything. So the common symptoms would be like you would also have skin changes, like because of the increase or decrease in the hormone, we would have an increase in melanin pigmentation. So you'll have dark patches over your face, over your neck. So these are common changes which are very temporary, which will occur during the second trimester. And you will also find a stripe running through the belly button to the center, which is known as linea nigra, which is very common, and it will fade away after your delivery. All right. So these are the skin changes which we'll have. Some mothers also, most commonly mothers also complain about nasal congestions and dental issues because your gums start getting very weak. So see to that you do not use any chemicals prescribed from the counter, like mouthwash or anything. See to that you use common salt water to gargle and use soft bristle brushes. So the other part is you might also start getting leg cramps. That is because your stretched calf muscles getting tightened. So see to that you stretch your calf muscles, do some relaxation exercises to relieve any pains here and there. And vaginal discharge is very common during the second trimester. The only concern part is you might have to get to your doctor only when it starts to smell or when there is some vaginal itch, which could be some infection. And urinary infection is also very common during the second trimester. Please make a note of it and approach your doctor when you feel you're feeling an itchy sensation in your urinary part, or you're having a very burning sensation while passing urine. Try to intake a lot of fluids and water, and if it doesn't ease out, please do approach your doctor. The third trimester symptoms is this is the phase you start to get other again tiring and gets a little uncomfortable because your body changes a lot. You need to carry a heavy baby around you. So this is a little tiring and uncomfortable phase, but it is totally enjoyable phase as well. So during the third trimester, we might start to feel some Braxton Hicks contractions. And it's like you will feel your abdomen tightening and loosening. So this also happens a lot of times. There would be an increase in frequency of these abdominal contractions in a day. But when you feel severe contractions or when you start getting pain, it is a moment when you start to approach your doctor, because it can be a preterm labor as well. Okay. And the growing symptom, because of the belly, you might also start feeling a backaches because during this period we'll have a loosening of joints because of the hormonal changes. Your pelvic loosens and round ligaments everywhere it loosens. So you need to support your back, and you need to support your back with a pillow or anything, and legs. You need to wear a comfortable footwear as well. And third trimester, we might start feeling a shortness of breath, heartburn, which arises again, and frequent urination. But this time it will be because of your baby's growth. And we might also start having some spider veins, or you might have a discoloration of your veins in your face or anywhere in your body, thighs and lungs. It could be because lack of exercise, or when you still feel a growing thing, it is a right time to approach your doctor. So these are the major symptoms which I'm talking about. Is there any questions? Yes, I'm having few questions. Yes, just related to the pregnancy stuff. Yeah, so I'm also present. Normal delivery and pelvic pain. Normal delivery is like you need to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but though you maintain a healthy lifestyle or healthy balanced food, or you do all the exercises, it is also based on the baby, the alignment of the baby, and some we might also have few complications like BP issues or diabetes or anything. It is concerned with the doctor. You'll have to talk to them and then decide if you can, we can proceed naturally for thing. And pelvic pain is normally used because of the round ligament adjustments. So this also, we have specified trainers going in for it. We have in a team called Mr. Karthik. He's a fit for Birth consultant. Please do approach him. He would explain to you all about it. Okay, I'm in my 18th week and symptoms of piles have started. How do I handle this? Okay, I think it is a lot more to do with your food habits. We will need to take in a lot more of fiber-rich foods and a lot of water and fluid intakes as well. Okay. So it is all based on the foods. You don't have to eat the same kind of food every day, so that it gets boredom, and the effectiveness or the nutritious part of it is also not consumed by the body if you take the same kind of fruits every day or vegetables. How do we know the baby is down? I always have baby movement down of the belly button. That happens only after your 36th week. After 35, or that's when we would know if your baby is really down. Any time prior to it, we wouldn't know any symptoms, or we wouldn't be able to identify if your baby is down. So I think That is with the pregnancy part of it. So can I go forward for the exercise, or Saranya, what should I do? Postpartum exercise. Is there anyone you want to speak about postpartum exercises?
Yes. So, yeah, before we go to that, Manasa, I just have a doubt. How many weeks pregnant are you? You could 32, right? Okay. Right. So around 32, you may be feeling a little bit of pelvic pressure, and that may be normal. Again, I would suggest you read up on belly mapping, wherein you can identify what are the movements from the baby's legs and what are the movements that you will feel from the baby's hands and the baby's head. So it will be easy for you to recognize if your baby is head down or not. Okay, it's very easy to do it. So you can do it at home. It's for mothers to do it. So it's called belly mapping. So you can read up on it. Okay. And yeah, Shweta, I think we are good to go. So we will skip to breastfeeding, and in case, yes. Okay, there are mothers who want postpartum exercise. Based on the time, we'll come back to the exercise part of it.
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you, Saranya. Hi, everyone. I'm Harita, a certified childbirth educator, lactation counselor, prenatal fitness trainer, and also an aspiring relationship coach. So, and to add to that, mother of 2 children, also a VBAC mom. So today I'll be handling breastfeeding. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is your queries. Generally, people think breastfeeding starts only after the baby is born. So what we need to understand is that from 12, 14 weeks of gestation, that is during the period of your pregnancy, breasts start to work for breastfeeding. That is why we tend to see the areola darkening, the size change, and some mothers even leak colostrum during the pregnancy period. So it's not an overnight event. Just after the baby is born, your breast will not work for milk production. It starts right from the pregnancy. So what I mean to say that everybody will have milk provided you know the right techniques and provided you receive the right kind of support. So that is one thing that we need to understand. Yeah. And coming to the colostrum part, initially in the first few days, we do not see breast hardening or breast heaviness, or we do not squirt milk just like how we see for cows. So the reason behind that is because in the initial days, we leak colostrum. Colostrum is nothing but it is the first nutritious feed that we give for the baby. In Tamil, we say it to be the seabat. So we've seen it for the cow. Similarly, we also have it. So that will be the most nutritious food that we give for the baby. And we will not leak or we will not squirt colostrum because it is highly dense in nature and it is also loaded with all the good nutrients. So only we'll be able to see it in droplets, and that too only when a person who's skilled his hand expressing or is helping the baby suckle, maybe you will be able to physically visibly see, or else you will not be able to see if you just like try to squeeze it out. So please do not squeeze your breast in the initial days and do not think that you do not have milk. So that's one point that I would like to say. The second thing is that babies are born with high suckling needs. If you tend to go back and see during the scan times also, you would have observed the baby being like practicing the suckling movements because they are attuned to do those suckling movements. So in the initial days of baby's life, they tend to suckle a lot. It doesn't mean that you aren't producing enough. It means that the baby is seeking a lot of comfort, safety, and nourishment from you. Imagine the baby has been in your womb for 9 months. It's all cozy, it's very comfortable. It knows the mothers are asking the baby to be independent, that is separate from the mother. Do you think that the baby will be able to adjust? Certainly not. So what the baby is going to be doing is the baby is going to be suckling a lot, because in our culture, only when the baby needs to drink milk, the baby is brought to the mother, right? So what the baby will be doing is simply suckling in the initial days of life, which is very, very normal. Okay. And then mothers have this doubt. The baby seems to cry for everything. Am I not producing enough? What we need to understand here is that babies cannot communicate. Their language skills are yet to develop. So the only means of communication for the baby to the mother is just by crying. So you can see the baby crying for n number of reasons. If the baby wants to pee, poop, or there's a lot of overstimulation, or if the baby wants to go to the mother, if the baby is feeling sleepy, restless, for everything, the baby is going to be communicating just through cry. So that doesn't mean that you are not producing enough for the baby. It simply means that the baby is trying to communicate to you. Okay, so that's one point that we need to understand. And let's talk about the tangible indicators. We need to make sure that we observe the baby's pee count, poop count, and weight. Those are the indicators that clearly indicate whether the baby is drinking well or not. Simply seeing the baby's cry, we cannot conclude that the baby is not drinking well. And I've also seen mothers saying the pattern of the tummy, like counting the lines on the baby's tummy, and if the baby's tummy is like up, or if the baby's tummy is down, they like conclude saying that the baby is getting enough or the baby is not getting enough. We need to understand the tummy can also be bloated because of air. So simply counting the lines will not indicate that the baby has drank milk well enough, or the baby hasn't got enough. We need to always make sure to monitor the pee count, poop count, and weight gain to understand whether the baby is being like really drinking well or not. Okay, so and we also observe in families, they have this policy that history repeats itself, meaning to say that if the grandmom did not breastfeed, the mother will also not be able to breastfeed. See, breastfeeding is not hereditary. It's going to vary from person to person. It is different for every mother, and we need to understand even not two pregnancies would be the same, or not two breastfeeding journey for the same mother would be the same. So it simply means that we need to know the right practices and properly seek professional help when needed. So that's one thing that we need to understand. And now the commonly prevailing statement that all mothers are telling to us is, should I get a pump even before I give birth? So pumping is meant for babies who are of like low weight gain, premature babies, or for some reason the mother and the baby has to be away from each other. In that case, pumping can help. Or if the mother has got supply issues and she needs to work on her supply, then pumping can come handy. It is not mandatory for every mother to purchase pump and have it in her hospital bag, right? And when the baby isn't feeding, we suggest alternate methods to feed, like cup feeding that we've mentioned in the WhatsApp group, or probably finger feeding, or medicine drop. You can make use of medicine dropper. We do not emphasize on bottle feeding simply because it can lead to a lot of nipple confusion. So with the bottles, it's easy for the baby to gulp down the milk that is flowing inside the baby's mouth, and the baby simply doesn't need to do any sort of work to get the milk. But with breastfeeding, the baby's oral facial muscle has to really work to suckle. So when the baby gets used to the bottles, he or she will start simply refusing the breasts. So that's why we really don't recommend bottles. And then there is also one statement where they say the husband should be away or shouldn't see the mothers while breastfeeding, and it will lead to decrease in supply. Okay, simply to tell it straight, it's not true. Someone seeing you feeding will not really decrease your supply. Only thing that will actually diminish your supply is probably the stress that we encounter, and if we are not feeding the baby frequently, or if we are letting the baby have other artificial milk, and when the suckling and draining of the breast is reduced, you will simply start making less also. So the more you let the baby suckle and the more you let the baby drain the breast, the more you will produce. So it's got nothing to do with your husband's eyes or anybody's else's eyes. And can I breastfeed when I am pregnant? Okay, so as long as you are a healthy mother who has like properly maintained nutrition, has good healthy habits, and who can always make sure to have a good amount of food and rest, Certainly, yes, you can breastfeed your baby even when you are pregnant. Only if the mother is termed as high risk pregnancy by an obstetrician, that is when we need to evaluate whether the mother can continue the breastfeeding or the breastfeeding has to be stopped. Okay, and with respect to twins, uh, see, we have two breasts to actually, satisfy two babies. One breast is actually sufficient to feed one baby. So if you have twins, it doesn't mean that you cannot feed. We need to rightly find out the techniques to navigate this breastfeeding journey. The more you give a lot of skin to skin contact, the more you let the baby feed, the more you'll drain. Or you can also make use of pumps, because with twins, the work can be quite exhausting and overwhelming. So using a pump can really help the mother to get some rest, which will also contribute to the overall health and well-being of the mother, and it will also affect the babies also. So with respect to twins, a pump can be a good option to feed the babies. And tandem feeding, I have an older child who's around like 2 or 3, and I have a newborn. Can I feed both the babies? Certainly yes. What we need to see is that newborn has to be fed first, and then the older baby should be allowed to nurse. Here also, the main area of concern is not with the babies; it's about the mother's overall well-being. So she needs to take proper nutrition. She needs to get proper rest, and if that is all taken care, and there's nothing stopping you from doing a tandem feeding also. Okay. I've heard by my friends, when we have C-section, milk will be produced only after 2 or 3 days. Why is it so? When okay, so see, it is not like that you will produce only after a couple of days when you have a C-section. Is that even if it is a cesarean section or even if it is a vaginal birth, the baby has to be put immediately on the mother's chest post birth and given loads of skin to skin contact. That skin to skin contact will help in establishing the breastfeeding hormones, prolactin and oxytocin. And also, without checking whether the baby, whether the mother is producing milk, simply letting the baby suckle post birth immediately will help in the let down, and it will also help with the mother relaxing and letting the hormones do its work. So as Manasa, as you've said, it's not about the C-section or vaginal birth. It's simply that we need to let the baby and mother bond and suckle when they are like separated from each other, when they are not allowed to bond, when they are not allowed to breastfeed, simply citing cesarean as a reason and being fed formula. That will all actually hinder the supply. The more you let the mother and baby bond, the more the mother attends to the baby's cues, the more the baby suckles, the more you'll produce. So sometimes it can also be because of the shock, if it's an emergency cesarean section. Sometimes it can also be because of the medical interventions that were performed during the birth. So those can also be contributors with some sort of hindrance towards breastfeeding. So that's also there. So now I'm open to taking questions. You guys can post the questions and I'll answer them. You can post or you can simply unmute and ask the question as well.
Thank you, Hari. That was actually very, easy to understand, and you answered most of the questions. And for the mothers in the listening, if you have any questions and you think you may forget, you can please put it on the chat box. And soon after I finish talking, we can start answering the questions one by one. Okay, so now coming back to my topic, I'm not going to talk anything technical. I'm just going to say something that will actually help ease your journey as a parent. Okay, so that is what I was planning to talk about. And so I just felt that I will go ahead and talk. So first and foremost, I just want y'all to understand that as parents, I just have a few pointers to tell you. We usually say that the first 1,100 days are very important for anybody as a human. So a lot of people who've attended my sessions will be very familiar about the first 1,100 days. So when we talk about the 1,100 days, what we mean is 3 months before you plan your pregnancy. And once you become pregnant, your duration of 280 days of pregnancy, and the first 2 to 3 years after your baby is born. So this period is actually very important for us as mothers as well as for the babies, because that is the foundational step okay, for babies. So what we do as parents, not only the mother, but as parents, our physical health, our mental health, what is our journey during pregnancy, how well are we able to relate to the baby or take care of the baby during the first 3 years of the baby's life, is going to produce either a very strong baby who has a very strong physic or physical body, healthy physical body, and a very strong mental health. Or on the other end of the spectrum, we can also decide if that particular baby is going to get, different health issues like just say sugar, or they're going to be very stressed, or they're going to have BP issues. There are a few studies which also tell us that it will determine to a certain extent if that particular baby will be prone to getting cancers in life. Okay, and when we talk about mental health, we can also say that babies who had a very beautiful 1,100 days, they grow up to become adults who do not get stressed very easily. They're able to manage life very beautifully, and they're very positive, and they are quite successful when compared to other babies. Okay. So this particular period that you have is very, very, very important. And when I say important, I do not mean that you have to teach your baby things. You have to give them a lot of activities to do, or you have to teach them the ABC, or show them flashcards, or buy a lot of toys to stimulate their brain. No, what I mean to say is you ensure that your baby feels very safe, they feel very calm, they feel taken care of. Okay, so you take care of them and all their needs are met. So one basic need that all babies are born with is the need to bond with their parents. Okay, not necessarily the mother, but with the parents. So to bond with the mother or the father, what you can do would be that, a lot of skin to skin, you carry your baby. I totally understand. And I have also gone through a lot of scenarios where the elders in the family will come and say, don't carry the baby too much. You will be spoiling the baby as the baby grows. Your baby will want you to carry your baby everywhere. That is totally not true, because I'm a living example. I'm somebody who loves to hug and cuddle my kids, and I never put my babies in a totel or a jula. I used to always carry them when they slept for the first year of their life. And I think I can confidently say that both of them are quite independent, and they can take care of their needs very well. They are 11 and 5 now. And so that is not true. Please do carry them. Study says that babies who are carried more actually become more independent. Okay, so don't get scared of that part. That's a very common question that mothers usually ask me. And then coming to the second part, your presence is what matters for your baby. Okay, your presence is very, very, very important. So by presence, I don't mean to say my baby is lying down in a cradle or a carry cot or a play mat with a lot of, mobile or toys around, and I am sitting and I'm talking to somebody else or I'm on my mobile. No. What it means is your baby does not need any toys. Your baby wants your full attention. So you don't have to give your baby attention for 24 hours all the days. Even if you give your baby your attention for only 25 minutes on a total for the whole day, that's perfectly okay. But that 20 to 25 minutes, even is broken into 5 minutes, it has to be only for your baby. Okay. So what I'm going to do is there is an experiment called the still phase experiment. Okay. You can Google it. It is available on YouTube. And I did have it. I thought of playing it for y'all, but then what I think is it'll take a lot of time. So y'all can just go see it. It's called the still phase experiment. Okay. What happens is in this experiment that was conducted around 20 to 30 years back, there is a small baby, and it's been done multiple times with the babies of different ages. There is the baby and the mother is there, or the father is there, and they've been asked to talk directly to the baby. So what the mother or the father does is they talk, they play, they start reciting a lot of things, they interact with the baby. And then all of a sudden, what the mother will do is she will stop talking and she will just sit like this. Okay, or the mother will take her mobile and she will start fidgeting with the mobile. So 1 minute passes, 2 minutes passes, the baby keeps looking at the mother, calling the mother, trying to cry. And at one point, what the baby does is the baby starts crying for attention. It starts looking around everywhere and asking for help. And the final stage in the experiment, what the baby will do is it'll just disengage totally, as if I don't like the world. I don't like this room. I don't like my mom per se. So I'm just going to lie down like this. I don't care. Okay, the baby becomes very disconnected. Why am I talking about this experiment is your full attention is needed for your baby. If you are in the same room and your baby is demanding your attention, please try to give them. That is better than any of the games or toys or flashcards or any activity that you can do. Okay, because that is going to tell your baby's brain that you love them, they are wanted, they are very special, and that by itself will cause them to grow into very confident, very bold, very successful adults. Okay. The third point is whether you are talking about breastfeeding, whether you're talking about learning, whether you're talking about milestones, or if you have the very important question, am I being a good parent or am I a good mother? Am I doing justice to my baby? The only answer I will tell you is watch your baby and you will know the answer. Okay, so let's talk about breastfeeding. So if you are breastfeeding and somebody tells you you don't have enough milk, don't listen to what they say. Instead, watch your baby. How is your baby reacting after a feed? Is your baby sleeping good? What is your baby's urine count? How much is your baby gaining weight? This is what you have to watch, because every baby is different. Even if you have multiple babies, I mean like twins, triplets, every baby is a separate individual with a separate character and a separate body. So each baby will react differently. Okay, so watch your baby if you want to know the answer. So let's say you're introducing solid food to your baby. Watch your baby to know if your baby is full. Do not look at, by watch, I do not mean look at your baby's stomach to see if it's protruding or if it is flat. Saying look at your baby's cues. Is your baby feeling interested in the food or is your baby looking away? Is your baby doing and not opening their mouth when you take food nearby? Or is your baby opening the mouth and coming towards you asking for food? Okay, again, let's say your baby fell down and you're panicking, you don't know what to do. Again, look at your baby. Is your baby okay? Yes, your baby will be crying, but are there other symptoms? Is the baby's head getting swollen, or is your baby feeling extremely sleepy? Is your baby feeling pukey? Did your baby vomit? So these are all symptoms that will give you signals. Okay, in an emergency situation or in any other part of parenting, yes, you can Google, but take all the information with a pinch of salt, because all the information on Google is either what experience tells them with their own babies, the person who's writing what they experienced, or what is the general average expected of babies. Nobody knows your baby like you. So only you can decide if your baby is okay, your baby is getting enough milk, and your baby is growing into a healthy and happy baby, right? And the final thing that I will tell you today is one tip to become a very confident, a very, proactive parent is follow your instinct. Okay, I usually tell mothers, start doing it when you're planning a pregnancy. Okay, you've skipped that part. You've become pregnant. Start following your instincts from pregnancy. Or now you have a baby who's, let's say 6 months, let's say 6 days, or even 6 years, or even 16 years. If you have not followed your instinct till now, please go ahead and follow your instinct from now on. It is very difficult, especially as women born in a country like India, because under the name of culture, we have been told to ignore our instincts from small. Okay, so few basic examples would be, somebody enters the house, there's a visitor or there's somebody who's working in the house. You do not feel comfortable with them. Even a child as small as, 1 year or 2-year-old knows by instinct that this person is not safe just by their vibrations, and the baby starts crying. But what do the adults in the family tell? No, don't cry. That auntie is very sweet. Go to that auntie, sit on the auntie's lap, give that auntie a kiss. You should not disrespect the elders in the family. So by this, what we have been fine-tuned to do is ignore your instincts. Your brain will tell you what is safe, what is not safe, but you will have to ignore that in the name of pleasing society or being a good individual in the society, right? So, but when we become pregnant, what happens is the hormonal reactions in our brain will again kickstart your instincts. Because we are all mama bears. You've seen animals, right? There's a puppy feeding from its mother. And even if the dog is your own, if you go try and pull the puppy, what will the mummy dog do? You get very irritated, right? It'll come, sometimes if you're doing too much to hurt the puppy, it will try to attack you. That is the mother's instinct. Your instinct is to protect your children, your baby at any cost. So switch it on, listen to it. It will take some time. I'm telling you today, so by today evening, it will not get switched on. You will not know about your instincts, no? May take you a few times, but the thought process that you get, right, many times It has saved the lives of a lot of babies. It has saved the relationship between a lot of parents and babies. So start listening to your instinct. Even if your own mother walks in and says your baby is not feeding well or your baby looks healthy, but your instinct tells you that there is something wrong with your baby, follow it. Okay, it's perfectly okay. So as you start doing this, what happens is in the next few days, in the next few weeks, in the next few months, you will start syncing your nervous system with your child's nervous system. Basic example, when how many of you maybe after marriage, you've studied in a hostel, you suddenly receive a call from your mother or your father and say, I just wanted to talk to you because I felt that there's something wrong with you. You would have actually been feeling upset. You would have actually been missing your parents or some other reason you would have been upset. You would not have told your parents, but then instinctively your parents will call you. Right? It happens to most of us. All of a sudden you get a call from a friend asking, are you okay? Because I've been thinking about you from yesterday. I don't know why. That is where the instinct has been working. Your nervous system gets in tuned with your baby's nervous system, and this attunement will last your lifetime. You may be 80, 90 years or even 100 years in the future. Your child may be, 80 years, 60 years, but that nervous system attunement will last you a lifetime. And this is how you connect to your baby. You become a good parent. You become a responsive parent. Okay. Not anything else, not buying them costly toys, not taking them to extracurricular classes, not putting them in the best school. No, all that is secondary. The first things that I would like all of you all to do is start watching your baby, trust yourself and trust your instincts. And I think that by itself will ensure that you establish a beautiful relationship between your baby and you. And yeah, this is also for your father, for the fathers of the baby, so that they can also establish beautiful relationships, right? So I hope I could get the message across in an easy way to understand. Thank you so much. And now we'll open up for questions.
To add to what Saranya said, it's not just with the childhood alone, it also shapes you as an adult, what you contribute towards your relationship. I mean, in your love life, in your marriage, it's all right there, right from your childhood. So if you want to see your relationship with proper boundaries, then it's not, I mean, it's not in the future, it starts right now in the childhood. Okay, there's one question. Okay, I feel low milk supply because after 5 minutes of feeding, baby puts my nipple. Also, I feel she might have lip time. I'm not sure. Baby cannot hold full areola though. I push. Okay. See, baby pulling out of the breast can also be due to overactive let down. When the baby feels probably she's not able to hold on to the breast because of the overactive let down, the baby might pull from the breast. Baby might pull out from the breast if she's feeling gassy or if she needs to burp. That can also be a reason. And with respect to lip tie, yes, lip tie can also be a contributor for shallow latch. That has to be evaluated by a lactation counselor in person. If not, you can take up an online consultation from any lactation counselor of your choice to get evaluated. If the baby has been gaining well, if the baby is satiated after every feeds, if you do not face any soreness or pain because of breastfeeding, then I would say it's fine. If there's some disturbances in all these things that I've mentioned, then I would say to get it evaluated. So that's about, yeah, breast milk. Okay, I'm not a person who do not cry that easy. I'm in 3 months postpartum, but now I break down even for small things and tears roll over. Is this because of any hormones? How to overcome that, ma'am? My baby is 3 months old, poop little during sneezing. Is it normal? Yes, pooping after every feed is normal. Pooping when the baby sneezes is normal. And with respect to crying, yes, it's because of all the hormonal shifts. Because we need to understand it took 9 months for you to nurture the baby. There were a lot of hormones that were playing their roles. And suddenly, all of a sudden, when the baby is born, everything is reset, right? So that imbalance can be a contributor a lot of times to hormonal swings, and which is very normal. If you feel you need to cry it out, it's healthy for you to cry it out. What is not normal is if you have negative thoughts of harming yourself or harming your baby, or if you are like overly protective, if you're having panic attacks, you're not able to sleep, if you feel that you aren't yourself, that is when we need some sort of professional help. Crying is pretty okay. Even I cried during PMS, so I think that's not.
Yeah,
Weight
talking
gain.
about crying, I
Yeah.
cried for after both my babies were born, and the target of my irritability and crying would always be my husband. Anybody comes and says, how is Shasti? My first thing is, what for him? He's having a happy life. I'm only struggling with the baby. He's not even bothered. I don't know. He doesn't come to visit. I'd start off on a rampage for the first 3 months, anytime. And I used to cry because I was irritated. So I think that's pretty much normal for, a lot of mothers. I do get a lot of feedback from mothers also saying, yeah, Sarnya, I actually was feeling very irritated. And the target was my husband because what we feel is they are also equal partners, but it feels as if I'm taking over everything because I was pregnant, I delivered the baby. Now I have to breastfeed, and this guy is having such a gala time in life. He's going about as if nothing happened. Right. So yeah, that is there. And coming to Daisy's question about the lip tie, my 2 cents would be that even if a baby has a tongue tie or a lip tie, there is no 100% guarantee that it has to be released or it needs interference. There are a lot of other parameters that a professional would be looking for. So at this particular stage where your baby is below 1 year or 2 years, if it is affecting your baby's, let's say, breastfeeding journey, or it is affecting the way your baby is processing solid food, that is when we will seek interference. If not, we will say if everything is going well, there could be other reasons for your baby, pulling out of your breast and crying or low weight gain. So we would look into everything, and only as a final resort, we would recommend, any interference for a lip tie or a tongue tie. Okay, so that is something we have to keep repeating because everywhere on the internet it says if your baby is not breastfeeding well or gaining weight, it is a lip tie or a tongue tie, you have to release it, but that is not how it works at all. Okay, please understand that.
Weight gain for 3 to 6 months per month, how much? Okay. For baby should double their birth weight by 6 months, and baby should be somewhere around 2.75 to 3 times the birth weight when they reach 1 year. So this is an approximation. So if your baby has been sticking to this, I think you should be good to go. There shouldn't be any trouble. Even gaining above this is also fine. It doesn't mean the baby has to stick to just 500 grams per month. Baby can gain above this also. And babies can also occasionally drop. Probably the baby was sick for a period of time when there's probably a change in the environment, when you've traveled to a different place. Sometimes there might be weight fluctuations during that period. So that is also not.
Questions?
I think the postpartum exercise, I'll just give a basic intro of it, is it? Yeah. So coming back to the postpartum exercise, the main aim should be to not hurry up initially itself. Once you had the baby, you had the belly pouch. It is not about, reducing the belly pouch immediately. So as Harita told, it takes 9 months for you to nurture the baby. So it would also take at least half of the time to get back your organs into its actual position, or it would take a lot more time for you to feel good about yourself mentally and physically. So please do not be eager to lose the weight. Your exercise will also depend on the type of your delivery mode, maybe it be it C-section or normal delivery. So for normal delivery, you would also have to wait for about 6 weeks until, that should be the primary milestone, because you need to get a nod from your doctor saying that you're all your tears or your episiotomy stitches, it's all good to go, and then you can start with normal walking, swimming, yoga. This is what you can start with. The aim should not be to indulge yourself in cardio exercise, but what you can do is 20 to 30 minutes of regular walk, which you can increase the pace later on, and maybe 10 minutes of postpartum exercise like core strengthening exercises like Kegels or pelvic floor exercises. These are the few to begin with. Okay, and it is also very important to learn about diaphragmatic breathing, because it helps to regain the abdominal muscles. Okay, so you will also have to stop your exercises when you feel hurt, or listen to your body. Like you should not rush up immediately when you have abdominal pain or vaginal pain or pain in the pelvic area. Please to take care of you, and only then you can take care of your baby as well. Okay, So coming back to C-section, you'll have to wait for about 12 weeks to begin with a normal exercise or rapid walking. That too is also after the nod from your doctor. So these are the basic exercise to begin with. The primary should be your Kegels exercise, pelvic floor, walking, and 10 minutes of any of the core strengthening. You please do. I would like to add a point that you should avoid doing any crunches or sit-ups because it might lead to an abdominal separation. So do not do any push-ups, crunches, or do not lift any weight. So this is the basic of the postpartum exercises.
Yeah, and we did have questions about belly binding. So when we talk about tying your stomach after birth, I would personally recommend is you can tie it as soon as you feel comfortable. So for a vaginal birth, maybe day 2, day 3, or if it is a C-section, maybe, take a few days to recover to get used to having your stitches and, taking care of your stitches, and then you can do it. So there are a lot of videos on the internet that will show you how to use a sari to tie your stomach. That is more than enough and sufficient. But if you feel like an abdominal belt is more easier for me to, use, that's perfectly okay. But please buy one that is just one size smaller. Okay, do not go for anything that hinders your proper breathing. So let's say you are at an XL size after birth, buy an L. Do not go for a medium, saying, okay, that will help my stomach shrink. Tying your stomach or wearing an abdominal belt is not going to give you flat abs immediately. The purpose is the stomach is going to be very flabby after birth. Okay. And especially if you've had a C-section or even a vaginal birth, you're lying down and you're getting up, your body will come and your stomach will follow after that. So it will pull on your stitches. It could give you a sort of discomfort. And so at that time, when you have it bound with a cloth, it is actually quite comfortable. The second reason we say is all your organs have been, pushed into different corners because of your uterus. Now that your uterus is shrinking, your organs will be returning to its original positions. So to ensure that your organs come back to its right place, and also to ensure that your abdominal muscles come back to its right place, we give them a little bit of a support. It's only support. It does not take care of pushing your stomach in. Do not tie your tummy throughout the day. Tie it for 2 hours, 2 hours. Remove it when you're eating. Remove it when you are sleeping. Okay, and you should be able to breathe properly. Do not tie it too tight, because other than causing you breathing discomforts, it will also put too much of pressure on your lungs, your diaphragm, that is the muscles below your lungs, and your pelvic floor muscles, which will cause very weak pelvic floor post-birth. This will lead to back pain. This will lead to leaking urine and fecal matter if it is not taken care of. So please do not put extra pressure. And like Shweta was saying, do Kegels, but do not overdo Kegels, because some people can overdo Kegels, and this will lead to very tight pelvic floor muscles. So you may read recommendations, or you may be recommended to do, 500 Kegels per day. That is all recommendations. We stick to 25 per, round, and you can do it like, let's say 3 to 4 times per day. That's more than enough. And then you can slowly increase it to maybe 35, 40, but don't go beyond that. Thrice or 4 times a day. Don't go beyond that. Every other exercise you do actually strengthens your pelvic floor. Like when you squat to lift your baby, when you bend and get up, when you do bridges, all these are working on, even if you sit and get up, it's working on your pelvic floor. So concentrate on all different types of exercises, okay? Because your pelvic floor is a very important aspect of your future health, for your menstrual cycle, for, holding your organs in properly, for lower back pain, even during menopause. So please take care of your pelvic floor soon after recovery. Okay, that's very important when we talk about postpartum. And Harita, you have a question. Please explain about correct latching.
I'll give you tidbits. Flanged lips, tummy to tummy touch from the mother to the baby, head, that is ear, shoulder, and legs in straight line. And then the hand underneath should fall across. It shouldn't be sandwiched in between. More areola on the lower lip should be inside the baby's mouth, and partly the areola on the upper side, upper side of the breast also should be inside the baby's mouth. When the baby feeds, you should not be able to hear sucking or smackling sounds, and then the cheek shouldn't be indented or pulled in when the baby suckles. When the baby unlatches, you shouldn't see creased nipples or blanched nipples, or you shouldn't see lipstick nipples. You shouldn't face any radiating pain that starts from probably the nipple and radiates back towards the breast. Does that answer? Yeah.
Right. So any
To add to what Saranya said, even like working on Kegels, working on your pelvic floor is also important for your sexual life also. So that's one thing that I would like to tell to boost you to exercise.
the
And one more
relationship coach is speaking, Makale, the relationship
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. And one more point I would like to add with what Shweta told is that no two people will have the same amount of energy, and no two people will like the same set of exercises. When one person is very highly energetic and is able to do Zumba, it doesn't mean a person like me would also be able to indulge in that. Choose what works for you. The exercises that you do should make you feel light, refreshed, and should help you feel good about yourself. It shouldn't make you very tired, irritable, or very exhausted. So that
And don't reduce your calorie
small,
count too much. Okay, eat properly. I mean, like, don't overeat, but eat so that you're feeling full. You should not be feeling hungry because you are taking care of a baby, and this will affect your recovery. It might also affect, based on your body type, it might also affect the amount of breast milk you're producing. Yeah, Shruti, you have a question, right? Your hand is up. Please do ask.
Yeah. How can I differentiate the baby vomit and I see sometimes he vomits like a curd. Sometimes the milk which he goes, the same milk, the same consistency comes out. So how to differentiate, and when should we approach doctor?
Question was how to differentiate between vomit and spit up. Sometimes the baby spits up very curdy. Sometimes the baby spits up just as plain milk that the baby drank some time back. So how do you differentiate between a spit up and vomit, and when should you go to a doctor?
Even after the burp, I see the baby is spits up. So how to overcome that?
okay. See, spit ups in the initial days is pretty normal, Shruti. If you see that the baby has released some sort of curdled kind of consistency during regurgitation, it's very normal. But when you see it on your dress, you will feel it's a lot of amount actually. But to be very honest, it's just little quantities. That is pretty normal. Only when you see the baby, like doing projectile vomiting, whatever the baby has drank, the baby immediately lets it out immediately after feeding in a form of projectile vomiting, or the baby lets out milk through nose. That is when we need to be concerned. So after every feed, I would emphasize on at least 10 to 15 minutes of upright time. You can just give a gentle tap on the back, but it is not necessary that the baby has to burp post every feed. Burp is a sign of releasing of trapped air. It can happen either through the mouth or through the anus. So after 10 to 15 minutes of time, if the baby is not burping, it's okay to let the baby lie down, let the baby to rest. If you see that the baby is spitting after like half an hour or something like that, I would suggest having the baby in a slightly inclined position, and then probably after 20-25 minutes, you can let the baby lie flat.
Thank you, Rika.
The next question is also for you. If we have cracked nipples, is it because of breastfeeding, or will it be an impact for any feeding?
Cracked nipples can be due to improper latch, and sometimes ties can also be a contributor. Whether it will impact the feeding, sometimes when bacteria enter through cracked nipples, it can sometimes lead to mastitis, and it will not reduce your supply, but it's just that you will need other attention and other techniques if a mastitis has developed. And with respect to feeding, yes, cracked nipples can cause a lot of pain in the mother. That can lead to a lot of stress in the mother. Yes, if the mother is stressed, the letdown of the milk will be impacted. So that's how it will affect actually. The supply will not reduce, but your stress will inhibit the letdown.
Right. Okay. And Daisy, for your question, small flat spot has developed above the right ear for my 4-month-old. Should I worry about it? Is it because of my hand pressure from feeding? It could be because of the pressure from your hand if you hold very tightly, or you've also said that the baby sleeps on that particular side. So that could be a reason. If you're very worried about it, what I would say is encourage your baby to, look the other way, lie down on the if the flat spot is on the right side above the right ear, so make the baby turn and lie down on the left side. So you can do that by holding a few toys or hanging a few toys on the left side of the baby. Make the baby sleep in alternate directions every day. So one day the baby keeps his head on this particular side, change positions when you're breastfeeding and when you are letting your baby sleep. And because your baby is already 4 months old, I'm assuming that your baby may have rolled over. If not, give your baby lots of tummy time. All this will ensure that the flat spot is, reduced and the baby's head rounds off normally. But other than that, please understand that having sort of a misshapen head is normal for all of us. Okay, see, there are around 20-21 mothers in the group. If all of us went bald today, all our head shapes are different. Okay, the only reason we are worried about our baby's head is because people tell us that a baby's head has to be round and perfect. It does not have to be like that. It's perfectly okay. If there is a medical condition because of it, your pediatrician will definitely let you know. If you are worried, please ask your pediatrician. They will be the best person to reassure you. But if your pediatrician has told you it's perfectly okay, don't worry. Once your baby starts developing a head full of hair, it will not be visible at all. Okay, it's perfectly normal. And it's again normal for a baby to pass urine twice or thrice within 10 to 15 minutes, especially after a feed. Because just imagine you're gulping down 1 liter of water. What will happen next 1 hour? You'll go to the loo at least 4-5 times. And then in the night, just because you're going to bed, you don't, drink much water. You will not pee at all at night, right? And in the morning, your urine will be yellow in color. So this is normal for babies also. Always remember, babies are tiny adults. Just like how our body works, their body also works similarly. The only difference is they are small and they cannot do things by themselves. That's all. So this is again pretty normal. You don't have to worry much about it.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Uma.
Ma'am, I have a few doubts. First, what happened that when I was discharging from hospital, so they didn't educate me how to latch. So after a month, what I went through a mistake, without a proper latching, my baby didn't gain weight. So once I came back to hospital, then only I came to know that there is a latching for proper method to feed. And the proper latching இல்லாதனால எனக்கு அந்த 1 month feed பண்ணனால எனக்கு நிப்பிள்ல crack வந்துச்சு. இப்போ வந்து அந்த nipple crack வந்து how to get rid of that?
Okay, so இப்போ எவ்வளவு நாள் ஆகுது குழந்தைக்குங்கம்மா?
1 month 3 weeks.
1 month 3 weeks. இப்போ weight gain எப்படி இருக்கு?
நான் வந்து ஆக்சுவலி இந்த குரூப் தான் எனக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணிச்சு. என்னோட ஹாஸ்டல்ல ஒரு அக்கா எனக்கு தெரியும். ஸோ ஷி ஒன்லி ஆடட் இன் திஸ் குரூப். நான் அதில் தான் போட்டிருந்தேன். எனக்கு வந்து என்னோட டாக்டர் என்ன சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா, உங்களோட மில்க் வந்து திக்னஸ் இல்லைங்கிறது. தட் இஸ் அ க்ளூ வேர்ட், ஐ திங்க் ஸோ. என்னோட ஃபீட் கரெக்டாக இருக்கு. ஹி வாஸ் பாசிங் யூரின் மோர் தென் 7 times. ஹி இஸ் வெரி ஆக்டிவ், பட் எவ்ரி ஒன் இஸ் டெல்லிங் தட் யுவர் milk is you don't have sufficient milk. So I totally disappointed that. அப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு நான் வந்து இந்த குரூப்ல போட்ட அப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு வந்து ஒன் ஆஃப் த லாக்டேஷன் கன்சல்டன்ட் ஹெல்ப் மீ a lot. latching ப்ராப்பரா இருக்கணும். ஸோ ஐ டோன்ட் நோ த ப்ராப்பர் மீனிங் ஆஃப் latching. தென் அந்த டாக்டர் தான் எனக்கு கன்சல்ட் பண்ணாங்க ப்ராப்பர் latching எப்படி பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு. Then I started latching in a proper way. 2 weeks I think went through. இப்போ வந்து அவன் 2.8ல இருந்தா இப்போ 3 kg வந்திருக்கான். birth weight வந்து 2.7. அப்புறம் நாங்கள் டிஸ்சார்ஜ் ஆகிறப்போ 2.5ல இருந்தான். Then we went and checked the weight again, birth weightக்கே வந்துட்டான். இப்போ birth weight வந்த அப்புறம் he didn't gain the weight after 3rd week I think so. இப்போ நான் போய் பார்க்குற போது 3 kg கூடிட்டான். ஸோ 200 grams, I think so, he gained the weight. But what my pet said that, okay, it's going in a good way. இப்போதான் இன்னும் 4 kg வந்துட்டு இல்லை. ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து ஒரு கன்சர்ன் என்னன்னா, நீங்க யூடியூப்ல இதை போஸ்ட் பண்றீங்க. ஸோ இதை கண்டிப்பா போஸ்ட் பண்ணுங்க. வித்தவுட் எஜுகேஷன் இது வந்து பேபி இம்பாக்ட் ஆகுது. டெஃபினெட்லி ஐ டோட்டலி டிஸப்பாயிண்டட். எனக்கு வந்து எஜுகேட் பண்ணாதனால, எனக்கு அந்த லேச்சிங் ப்ராப்ளம் இருந்தனால என்னோட சன் வந்து இன்னே வெயிட் ஆகலங்கிற போது, you just think about that. We are in a single parent. We are in a whole family. Think about it, how I faced everything. One person, ஒருத்தவங்க ஒன்று சொல்லுவாங்க, இன்னொருத்தவங்க ஒன்று சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ ஆர்ட்டு போய் என்ன சொல்றதுன்னே நமக்கு தெரியாது. ஸோ டென்ஷன் ஆனாலும் மில்க் ரெடியூஸ் ஆயிடும். நமக்கு ஒரு எஜுகேஷன் இல்லை, லேச்சிங் ஒன்றும் இல்லை. இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும்போது எனக்கு ரொம்பவே டிஸப்பாயிண்டட் ஆயிட்டேன். இப்போ அதனால அந்த கிராக் நிப்பிள் இருக்கனால எனக்கு இன்னும் ரொம்ப ஒரு பேனிக். என்னன்னா, இதனால அவனுக்கு ஏதாவது பாக்டீரியாஸ் உள்ள போயிடுமோ என்னங்கிறது தான் எனக்கு வந்து பயமா இருக்கு. ஸோ ஹவு டு ஐ மெயின்டைன் தட்? இந்த பாக்டீரியாஸ் உள்ள போகாம இருக்கிறதுக்கு நான் என்ன மெயின்டைன் பண்ணணும்?
Okay, so first, Uma, I totally understand the journey. Prasavina, I mean, and the soon after birth and the 1 to 1.5 months, ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருந்திருக்கும். அண்ட் நம்ம ஊரை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் வந்து நிறைய பேர் நம்மளை சுத்தி இருக்கிறது போஸ்ட் பர்த் எவ்வளோக்கு எவ்வளோ அட்வான்டேஜஸோ குழந்தைய பார்த்துக்க. பட் அந்த ரிவ்யூஸ், கமெண்ட்ஸ், அவங்க எப்படி வளர்த்துனாங்கிறது நம்ம கிட்ட திணிக்கிறதுல we do have a lot of difficulty. So that is one thing. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. And I'm happy that the group could help you to a certain extent. But இன்னமும் உங்களுக்கு வந்து crack nipples இருக்கு அப்படின்னா, then I would definitely say that the latch is not 100%. Okay, latch முதல்ல இருந்ததுக்கு இப்போ இன்னும் குழந்தை வளர்றதுனால இல்லை நீங்க ட்ரை பண்றதுனால குழந்தை இன்னும் நல்லா latch பண்றாரு. பட் it could be better because அவர் கரெக்டா latch பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாருன்னா உங்களோட crack nipples இந்நேரம் ரிசால்வ் ஆயிருக்கணும். Okay, so I would definitely recommend a one-on-one consult with any LC. You can put that on the group which place you are from. So அந்த ஊர்ல உங்களுக்கு நேர்ல பார்க்க LC யாராச்சும் இருந்தா you can definitely meet them. இல்லாட்டி you can always fix up an appointment with Harita and you can do an online consult with her.
Sure.
எதுக்கு உங்க எல்லாத்துக்கும் இவ்ளோ சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கோம்? Why do we have these free meetups is because we want to give you awareness, and tomorrow 15 or 16 of you will go and help at least 2 mothers that you know. Maybe your sister, maybe your friend, maybe your colleague, or maybe some stranger you meet. That mother is struggling and the first thing you say is, don't worry, you can breastfeed. Meet up with an LC, or you will definitely have enough milk, or you are being a good mother. Right, so this is how we will be giving back to a lot of other mothers. Uma, awareness kandipa theva, but awareness ortha rendu per pesna varadunga. All of us have to start speaking. So you have to teach other. You see somebody pregnant, tell them you can breastfeed immediately. So idella neenga note panni vechukonga, read up, or maybe attend a class, or read this particular, or join this particular group. So that is how we help create awareness. Awareness increase achuna, automatically all the people who are involved will change their opinion and they will start advocating. It's the only thing that we can do. But as a group, any mother over here, whatever your journey is, don't feel guilty. Okay, அது வந்து நம்மளோட கண்ட்ரோல்லே இல்லை. It was something that's out of our control. So whatever your journey was, please carry on as bold as you have been all these months. That's the only thing I can say. Okay, so coming to the next question. Ore marande not necessary at all for your baby. Necessaryங்கிறத தாண்டி it is not recommended at all. Okay, because see, in those days they gave all these herbs, these concoctions. They knew what was the type of tree they had to take it from. They knew the quantity that was supposed to be given. But now I personally know a lot of even homeopathic and Ayurvedic doctors who say don't give all this because we do not know the quantity, we do not know the type of tree, because there are different types of tree barks that you have to use. So we do not recommend, because some of the herbs or the trees that we are using can act as sedatives for your baby and make your baby feel very sleepy. We also know that some types of Vasambal can cause cancers in babies in the future. Okay, there are proven studies for that. They can act as carcinogens. So please do not give Oramaranda for babies. Talking about how many days baby take to roll over, usually say some babies roll over by 3 months. They can go even till 5 months maximum, but beyond that, please do check with your pediatrician.
சரிங்க, ஒன் மோர் டவுட். இப்போ
Yes,
நான் வந்து 2 weeks ஆச்சு நான் ப்ராப்பர் latching கொடுத்துட்டு. So how many days it will take to get rid of என்னோட crack nipple?
by maximum 5 days to 1 week, usually mothers will start finding, it will start healing. And if the latch is perfect, I think on the feed la irundhe pain irukadu. The nipple will start recovering well.
Pain. Before I was having a lot of pain. But if எனக்கு pain இல்ல, but I can feel that அந்த vein வழியா எனக்கு milk போகிறது, I can feel that. Before I was not get that feel. I didn't get that feel. அவன் நிப்பிள மாத்திரம் தான் சக் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தான். பட் எனக்கு அந்த ஃபீல் கிடைக்கல. இப்போ வந்து எனக்கு அந்த ப்ராப்பர் அட்வைஸ் கிடைச்சனால நான் அந்த ஹோல் அந்த பிளாக் சர்க்கிளே உள்ள விடுறதுனால எனக்கு பெயின் இல்லை. பட் அந்த கிராக்கோட எனக்கு ஒரு கிராக் மாதிரி இருக்கிறது ஐ கேன் சீ தட். பட் எனக்கு பெயின் இல்லை. பெயின்ங்கிறது எப்படி நான் சொல்லணும்னா, அவன் சம்டைம்ஸ் அவன் ரொம்ப இது பண்ண போது எனக்கு அந்த பிளாக் இதுலதான் ஒரு லைட் பெயின் இருக்கும், பட் நாட் சிவியர். பட் பிஃபோர் எனக்கு இருந்தது. when I started feed அந்த டைம்ல எனக்கு இருந்தது. வாட் மை கொஸ்டின் இஸ், அந்த கிராக்கல் நிப்பிள் வந்து அது இப்போ கொஞ்சம் விரிஞ்சிருக்கு, அது க்ளோஸ் ஆகுமா, அது வழியா அவனுக்கு ஏதாவது பாக்டீரியாஸ் உள்ள போகுமா?
Okay, so Uma, crack empty irukku enna theriyala, so I can't comment on that. I'd say just talk to Haritha today or maybe tomorrow. Just WhatsApp her and fix up an appointment when she's free. So that in a சிலருக்கு வந்து nipples-ல அந்த கோடு வந்து இருக்கும், but that is not necessarily a crack. So I would definitely advise checking whether it's still a crack that is raw, illa it's just a pore or an opening, and then adula irundhu you can take it forward. Haritha, you want to say anything for that?
உமா, கிராக் வந்து இப்போ உங்களுக்கு பெயின் இல்ல, அந்த இடம் வந்து நீங்க கை வச்சு ரப் பண்றீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு சென்சிட்டிவா ஃபீல் ஆகல அப்படின்னா கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா விட்டீங்கன்னா இட் வில் ஸ்டார்ட் ஹீலிங் ஆன் இட்ஸ் ஓன். ஓகேங்களா? சோ இன்னொரு விஷயம், we need to understand here that babies like continuously feeding அப்படிங்கும் போது கொஞ்சம் உங்களுக்கு அந்த ஹீலிங் டைம் அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து கொஞ்சம் லென்த்தியா போகலாம். ஓகேங்களா? இப்போ வந்து ஒரு புண்ணு இருக்கு அப்படின்னா அதுல எதுவுமே பண்ணாம கான்ஸ்டன்டா காத்து பட்டுட்டே இருக்கு, ஈரம் இல்லாம இருக்குன்னா அது காயறது ரொம்ப ஃபாஸ்டா காயும். பட் கான்ஸ்டன்டா ஈரம் இருக்கு, கான்ஸ்டன்டா அந்த இடத்துல ஏதோ மூவ்மெண்ட் இருந்துட்டு இருக்கு, நம்ம திருப்பி வந்து க்ளோத்ஸ் போட்டு காத்து இல்லாம பண்ண போது கொஞ்சம் அதுக்கு ஆயிரம் தன்மை வந்து கொஞ்சம் டைம் எடுக்கலாம். சோ தட் கேன் ஆல்சோ பி one thing that we need to take into account. சரிங்களா? So if there's no pain, the baby is feeding well, நல்லா வாய் ஓபன் பண்ணிருக்காங்க, கை வச்சு அந்த இடத்தை தொட்டு பார்த்தா கூட பெயின் இல்லை அப்படின்னா don't worry about it. But you're feeling ஒரு மாதிரி ரொம்ப எக்ஸ்க்ளூசிவ்லி பெயின் இருக்கு அப்படின்னா மட்டும் then we'll do something to it. சரிங்களா? ஒரு 1 to 10 days அது காய விட்டுறதுக்கு நல்லா வந்து மில்க் அப்ளை பண்ணி ஏர் ட்ரை பண்ணி ரொம்ப டைட் க்ளோத்ஸ், அதாவது ஒரு ஃபீட் முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு 15-20 minutes நல்லா காத்து பட காய விட்டுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் க்ளோத்ஸ் வேர் பண்ணி பாருங்க. அது வந்து கொஞ்சம் அந்த கிராக்க வந்து ஹீல் பண்றதுக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணும்.
ஓகே, thank you Haritha.
How to find
sore nipple?
போஸ்ட் ஃபீடிங் வந்து உங்களுக்கு பெயின் இருக்கு இல்ல throughout the breast radiating பெயின் இருக்கு, நிப்பிள் வந்து குழந்தை வாய்க்குள்ள போகும்போது கன்ஷான மாதிரி ரத்த ஓட்டம் இல்லாத மாதிரி வருது, இல்ல ஒரு பக்கம் ப்ரொட்ரூடரா இன்னொரு பக்கம் ஃபிளாட்டா போய் வருது, இல்ல வந்து பயங்கர கொஞ்சம் ஃபீடிங் செஷன் முடிஞ்சு கொஞ்ச நேரம் கழிச்சு கூட வலிக்குது, அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் சென்சேஷன் பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா it can be a sore nipple. So that's one way to find it. Just after unlatching I see baby spits out. What could be the reason? Sometimes baby doesn't give me a time to burp or make him to keep an inclined position. அன்லாச் பண்ண உடனே ஸ்பிட் அவுட்டா இல்ல பேபி வந்து தூக்கத்துல வந்து ஸ்வாலோ பண்ணாம இருக்கிற மில்க வந்து வெளியில லெட் அவுட் பண்றாங்களா அப்படிங்கறத பாருங்க ஸ்ருதி. that is one thing that you need to see. And baby burp பண்றதுக்கு டைம் கொடுக்கல, இன்க்ளைன் பொசிஷன்லனா ஏன் என்ன பண்றாங்க, burp பண்ண விடாம என்ன பண்றாங்க? ஸ்ருதி, can you please explain?
இல்ல பர்ப் பண்ண குடிச்சிட்டே இருப்பாங்க, குடிச்சிட்டு இருக்கும்போதே அந்த நான் எடுத்து பர்ப் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்ற அந்த டைமே தராம அவனே அப்படியே கக்கிடுறான்.
ஓகே, குடிச்சு முடிச்ச கையோட பர்ப் பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி கக்கிடுறாங்கன்னு சொல்றீங்களா? ஓகே, சோ நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி அந்த மில்க் வந்து வாயில வெச்சிருந்தாங்களா தூக்கத்துல
இருக்கும் போதே?
சாரி ஸ்ருதி,
ஃபீடிங் பில்லோல இருக்கும் போதே
ஓகே
குடிச்சிட்டே
நீங்க
இருப்பான்.
அன்லாச் பண்ணின உடனே அப்படியே
அன்லாச் பண்ணி
ஓகே
முடிச்சோன்னு அப்படியே மில்க் வந்து அப்படியே வெளியில வந்துரும்.
ரெண்டு விஷயம் நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி வாயில மில்க் கூல் பண்ணி வச்சிருந்தாங்க, தூக்கத்துல ஸ்வாலோ பண்ணல, உங்களுக்கு ஓவர் ஆக்டிவ் லெட் ஆன் இருந்துச்சுன்னா சம்டைம்ஸ் வாயில இருந்து எடுத்த உடனே வந்து வாயில கலெக்டா இருக்க மில்க் வந்து டபக்கு வெளியில வரக்கான வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. இல்ல வந்து கக்குறாங்க அப்படின்னா வந்து பிரச்சனை கிடையாது, வாய் வழியே கொஞ்சோண்டு தான் லெட் அவுட் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்னா நோ ப்ராப்ளம். பட் வந்து ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தியா வந்து த்ரோ அப் பண்றாங்க, இல்ல மூக்கு வாய் வழியா வருது, இல்ல அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா தென் இட் நீட் எவாலுவேஷன் சொல்லி. இன்னொரு சம்டைம்ஸ் வந்து பொறையேறிச்சு, உங்களுக்கு லெட் டவுன் ஃபாஸ்ட் ஆகி பொறையேறிச்சுனாலும் சம்டைம்ஸ் வந்து மில்க வந்து அப்படி வெளியில ஏத்தலாம். சோ இதுல என்ன ரீசன் அப்படிங்கறத நீங்க பேபியை பார்த்து உங்க பிரஸ்ட் ஃபீடிங் டியூரேஷன் போது நீங்க அதெல்லாம் அப்சர்வ் பண்ணி தெரிஞ்சுக்க வேண்டிய விஷயம்.
ஓகே.
லெட் டவுன் ஓவர் ஆக்டிவ் லெட் டவுன்னால அந்த மாதிரி கக்குறாங்களா, இல்ல தூக்கத்துல வந்து வாயில கடைசியா ஸ்வாலோ பண்ணாம வச்சிருக்க மில்க் கக்குறாங்களா, இல்ல குடிச்சு முடிச்சு நார்மல் ஸ்பிட் அப் தானா அப்படிங்கறதெல்லாம் பார்த்து நம்ம கன்க்ளூட் பண்ணணும். ஸ்ருதி கிளியர்?
ஓகே
ஸ்ருதி கிளியர்?
She's clear. She said okay. So next question is, when will babies start to crawl and sit? Sitting வந்து first they'll usually be able to do it by 6 months. அவங்களே வந்து உட்கார மாட்டாங்க, நம்ம உட்கார வச்சு அந்த ட்ரைபாட் பொசிஷன் கால் ரெண்டும் விரிச்சிட்டு கையை நடுவில் வச்சு பேலன்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு they can start sitting by 6 months. இது slowly வந்து they'll start learning to sit better, and crawling usually comes post 8 months. 8 to 9 months அந்த பீரியட்ல வந்து usually babies will start crawling again. குப்புற விழுவாங்க, ஆல் ஃபோர்ஸுக்கு வருவாங்க, அந்த ஆல் ஃபோர்ஸ்ல பேலன்ஸ் பண்ணி பழகணும், அது ஒரு 1 week ஆகும் சில குழந்தைங்களுக்கு. அப்புறம் நின்ன இடத்துலயே பம்ஸ முன்னாடி பின்னாடி ஆட்டிட்டு இருப்பாங்க பாடிய. சம் பேபிஸ் வில் கோ பேக்வர்ட்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட், ரிவர்ஸ்ல போயிட்டு ஐயோ ராங் டைரக்ஷன் ஒரு ஃபியூ டேஸ் கழிச்சு முன்னாடி போவாங்க. ஸோ ஆல் தீஸ் ஆர் டிஃப்ரெண்ட் மைல்ஸ்டோன்ஸ், பட் சிட்டிங் கம்ஸ் பிஃபோர் and then crawling comes after. Okay. And Revati, you asked if we can speak in 2 languages. Most definitely we can, because India பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒரு certain levelக்கு மீறி போறப்போ most families are bilingual தான். இல்ல நம்ம தமிழ் பேசுவோம், கூட நிறைய இங்கிலீஷ் வேர்ட்ஸ் வரும். We will talk one sentence in Tamil and one sentence in English. That's perfectly okay. Usually in bilingual families, what is recommended is either for one particular activity or one particular time, you use one language fully, or one parent uses one language and the other parent uses the other language. That will help them relate well. Or just or flow la vande, whenever you feel like you switch to English and you switch to Tamil. Babies usually will not get confused because they do not know different languages. They only read words. So when we take a baby, when we say, eat, or when we say saapde, they only relate that these are 2 words for the same activity. That is, I have to put something in my mouth, I have to chew and I have to swallow. They don't understand that eat is a different language and saapde is a different language. Those are 2 words. Just like how, we can call amma, we can call mummy. Similarly, like how daddy calls me cello and mummy calls me tango. Right? So there can be different words for different activities. Sometimes it may take a baby திடீர்னு பேசுறது நிறுத்திட்டாங்கன்னா, there could be any other reason for it. So I definitely say, ask the parents to analyze, encourage the baby to talk. But otherwise, bilingual families, trilingual families also I've seen, and babies are beautiful. I've seen one baby who was 3 years old. They spoke in English, they spoke in Hindi, and they spoke in Tamil. அந்த குழந்தையோட சென்டென்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்கும்னா, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 2 வார்த்தை வந்து இங்கிலீஷ், நடுவுல தமிழ், அப்புறம் ஹிந்தி. அழகா 3யும் கோர்த்து பேசும் அந்த குழந்தை. She'll say, "Auntie, I want தண்ணி," and then ஹிந்தில வந்து டம்ளருக்கு என்ன சொல்லுவாங்களோ அதை தெளிவா சொல்லும். Her elder sister will translate it for us to understand when we meet. So it's totally okay. They will get used to it and they will do. And Hari, the next 2 questions are for you. Sometimes babies fills through the mouth, through the nose. Is it normal?
Yeah. Baby spitting through the nose என்னைக்காச்சும் ஒரு rare event அப்படின்னா fine தான். But ஆனா on a regular basis if you see baby spitting continuously through nose அப்படின்னா கண்டிப்பா needs a PEDS evaluation. That is very important. அடுத்தது burp symptom வந்து stomach full அப்படிங்கறதுக்கான இண்டிகேஷன் கிடையாது. காத்து உள்ள போயிருக்கு, அந்த காத்தை ரிலீஸ் பண்றோம் அப்படிங்கறதுக்கான இண்டிகேஷன் தான். Even after you burp the baby, you can definitely feed if the baby is asking for a feed. Always offer one side post baby unlatching, you can offer the next side immediately. The next side is like a dessert. Pandi sapadu sapattu or ice cream sapra mari. Ice cream is optional. It's up to the baby to decide whether he wants to take it or refuse it. Seringla. So burp panni mudichittu tharalama feed pannalam baby keta.
And again for attending today. It was actually lovely listening to everyone, answering your doubts. And I really hope that today's session has benefited all of you. Please do continue asking a lot of questions on the group and also answering the questions of other mothers, because there are a lot who did not attend today's session. So in case they ask questions that we answered, it would be really great if all of you could just, pitch in and answer and, help us out on the group. Okay. So thank you so much from Team Babypedia, Saranya and Shweta, and from our breastfeeding expert, Haritha.
Thank you, everyone, participating, and lot more questions are expected as well. Nariya per ketadella, we would be glad to answer. Since we have too many, multiple professionals on board, you would get the appropriate answer. உங்களுக்கு எந்த ஃபீல்ட்ல வேணுமோ அந்த கரெக்ட் ஆன்சர் கண்டிப்பா கிடைக்கும். That's it. Yes, Hari.
Saranya and Shweta for this wonderful opportunity. It was nice interacting with you all. Looking forward to many more sessions. I mean, it's nice always to get along with new mothers, because in the phase namak kadandirukangatti nariya vandu namakku vandu we can recollect and actually cherish. So thank you for this opportunity.